This is the fourth hour.
Pat Gray, Stu Bergier, and you. We're going to get to your phone calls coming up. 888-727-BECK. I wanted to talk about this poll that has come out. And is this an online poll? Because if it's online, you can just throw it out the window.
Well, it's in between, basically. I think this is a Harris Interactive poll. Am I correct in that? I kind of got a blurb on this.
I think it is.
Yeah, there's a different, I would say there's come down to three different kinds of polls. You've got the non-scientific, I'm online, and everything, and it's 98%. 98% say that Obama should not pass the health care bill. It's like, all right, well,
right.
That's Glenn Beck's audience. But then you have the scientific poll, which still, of course, has plenty of problems, but, we take those as pretty much fact, or at least close to fact. The Harris Interactive poll, and I think Zogby has an interactive poll as well, which they have sort of a group of people who are willing to take polls. So it's a larger sample size, but they're people who have gone out.
They're poll takers.
Right, they're poll takers.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit, I think they can vary a little bit too. Sometimes I think you might get too many activists in this sort of sample.
Mm-hmm.
But they still will give you sometimes good results. But I think they're you got to take them with a grain of salt.
Well, this is supposedly, this is trying to paint Republicans again as extremists.
Yeah.
There's a massive effort on every front. They're violent. They're extreme. They don't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 67%. This is spun, obviously, in a very negative way. And here's how the story reports it. This is in the, Daily Mail or something from the story, which is a Mail Online, which is, I think, British. And here's the line about 67% of Republicans in America who responded to this poll believed President Obama was a socialist. Then the next line is, despite his central leanings. Despite his central leanings?
Is this a news article or a column?
What?
Centrist
Show
leanings.
me his centrist, and it's centrist, by the way, not central. But show them to me. I haven't seen any centrist leanings.
Centrist in what? On what scale? Maybe he's centrist for the left wing of Europe. But
maybe
maybe there.
If
he's
you're
not
a Stalinist, he might be centrist.
He's not centrist in America.
No,
he's
not
obviously very liberal. And it's one of these things like you talk about. Is Barack Obama a socialist? Well,
yes,
yes, probably. Is he socialist in the academic terms of like he wants government to control every single piece of industry?
Yes.
Well, but are these policies doing that at this time? No. I think they're moving us that direction. If you want to talk about Barack Obama, because you want to talk about the academic definition of socialism, even China isn't socialist. That's not really what we're talking about at this point. We're talking about from the democratic socialism, quote unquote, in Europe, which is a far left jump from where we are now, and even further left than that, Venezuela, which is more of an authoritarian socialist, but still not the academic socialist that you might learn about from Marx and from Marx's theory. So you're talking about like a slight difference here, but you look at Barack Obama's policies, and maybe they are centrist for the democratic socialism of Europe, but to us, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
we don't want to go that direction. And we don't want to get started. Why push the car that way? What if there's a hill there? I don't want to roll down the hill.
You look at all the evidence. He's taken over GM and Chrysler. Mm-hmm. They've taken over the banking industry. They've taken over insurance. They've got AIG. They've just taken over 1/6 of the U.S. economy. He said not all in one fell swoop, but they're obviously planning to finish the job at some point.
Right.
They promised us that.
Oh, yeah, and it's not just going to be 1/6.
Those are not centrist policies. Those are socialist policies.
Those are the furthest left policies we've ever encountered in American history.
So
at the very least, you could say that.
Absolutely. So even if it is that 67%, even if this is accurate, I think they're right. Yes, he's socialist. I mean, but they're presenting this as if it's something ridiculous.
Well, it's because it's brought in. What's the 50? What was it? The Muslim stat?
The Muslim thing is ridiculous.
And that's the problem. I mean,
57% believe the president was secretly Muslim. Please, I mean, come on.
And this is why we argue with people like the birthers and all this other stuff. And it's like, look at that.
It discredited the first.
It does. It does discredit
it. He is a socialist.
Because
Leave it at that.
You know what? You have a group there, though, that don't know if he's a socialist or not. They just don't like him. Yeah. And you know what? The vast majority of people out of that 57% don't believe he's a Muslim. They just don't like him and want to say the thing that they think is wrong about the poll question. It's the same thing to some degree as what happened in the Bush administration. If you remember, I mean, what were the polls in the Bush administration about him being responsible for 9/11? I mean, do I really believe that all these Democrats, half of Democrats, came out and really believed that he was, helping with a remote control plane fly, flights into buildings? I don't think so. But they didn't like him. They think that he wanted to go to war. They think that he was, no war for oil guy. And you're going to take the thing that's, you think is going to anger, what makes him look worse. I think that's the problem with polls. We went into this in an Inconvenient Book. You look at them, a lot of people answer polls in the way that they want to get the results that they would like everyone else to know.
Yeah.
And, that's a problem with them.
And then an even greater, here's the other three. Was he born in the United States? Many Republicans, I forget what it doesn't say in the story here, but it doesn't say the exact percentage, but I think it was in the 30s, 38% said yes. But he wasn't born in the United States. That's just stupid. And then nearly a quarter of Republicans, so almost 25%, believe that Barack Obama is the Antichrist.
Now,
how many of those people were serious? I don't know.
I know when I
don't know.
I would say my entire life, when I've taken polls like this, I've always tried to give the answer I think would be funniest in the results.
And people may have been doing that.
There might be some of that. I also think there's just I don't like that guy, so I'm going to vote against him.
Yep.
And I also would like to see, and I don't remember too many times this being asked, but I would like to see people who are religious Democrats that couldn't stand George W. Bush, what the percentages would have been on that. Because, you might be, obviously, Democrats are a little bit more secular in nature, so maybe they're not going to answer that question that way, but they certainly had a lot of bizarre, crazy answers against George W. Bush simply because they couldn't stand the guy. And you know what? A lot of Republicans, for a lot of good reasons and some really stupid ones, can't stand Barack Obama. So, they love to poll. The Daily Kos has been doing a series of these polls where they ask questions in a way in which to get answers that are, that make Republicans look crazy. And you know what? When there was a lot of times that happened with Republicans doing the same things to Democrats around the poll. Remember all the stuff where they would go out and they would interview people and they just looked like idiots who were Barack Obama voters. And you know what? You can't. What can you take out of that? It's just a political tool. It's another bullet. I just said bullet. I was going to say another bullet in the political battle, but I think people would have thought that was violence. Sir, please don't. You don't understand. I do not condone violence. I swear. It's getting away from me. Okay, notice how we're not talking about health care.
Suggesting people go out in the streets and fire bullets randomly at children
Real?
under 3 years old.
I never specified the age. 3-year-olds that look like me are fine. Don't shoot them.
Right.
But
it's
if
all
they're
the different ones.
If they're different,
it's all the different ones. It's always been about that. For you, Stu, I know.
Well, I don't know if you saw. I mean, the violence is real. We talked about the brandishing of what was it? Brandishing
placards.
Of placards. Which
placards were brandished.
I saw a devastating incident with a very sharp weapon, and it was being utilized in an aggressive manner, and a blood red. It was a Sharpie. And then they were writing on a piece of poster board, but it was sharp. It has sharp right in the title.
No,
and it was terrible. I mean, this is what happens.
No,
when I hate to see
I've
seen this before. I've seen Sharpies before. At an Office Depot,
mm-hmm.
at an Office
Staples.
Max, at a Staples, and at a Target. And
Walmart.
Even Walmart.
Will feature
It even goes there. And even racist Walmart, who allows 16-year-olds into their stores to say bad things about African Americans.